would tell young Dame to just be a better listener. And I said this to some high school students at my school the other day. You always think you know more than you know. And as time goes by, you look back and you realize you didn't really know anything. And
now that is a bold message around Christ. Hello, everyone. I'm Brandi, and this is the B.M.A.C channel. And listen, we just had a simple message from Damian Lilliard, and I'm talking about it was a bold message around Christ. Now, it was simple and it was straight to the point. His message was, be a better listener. He's telling, what can I tell my 12-year-old self? That's what it would be. That's the bold message that he's talking about, to be a better listener. And so you may say, how is that a bold message around Christ? Well, it is. He may not have given you any scripture. He may not have said anything about the Bible. But I'm going to tell you, in the book of James, James chapter 1, verse 19, it says, understand this, my dear brothers and sisters. You must be quick to listen. These are words of wisdom from James. You must be quick to listen, and then slow to speak, slow to get angry, right? But the most important thing right here they want you to be quick to do is that you need to be a listener. You need to listen. You need to be quick to listen. He then goes on to say in a video that I really liked, you always think you know more than you know. Listen, we are all experts in our craft. Be it if you are a teacher, a mechanic, an engineer, a doctor, a lawyer, a pastor, whatever your title may be, we feel like, we know it all. If I'm a supervisor, a manager, whatever it may be, I got this. I've either been to school and college and got all these degrees, or I have a load of experience, right, that makes me an expert in this field. So I know it all. You should be listening to me, right? Because I am the expert. But here we have this NBA player. Now, he's made it to the NBA. That in itself is a difficult task to accomplish, right? Not everybody makes it to the NBA. I think the statistic on that is maybe 1% of college students actually make it to the professional. So here we have this Damian Lilliard, right? He's made it to the NBA, but he didn't just make it to the NBA. He's not just one of the players. He's a very important piece. He's a very important player in this game, right? I'm talking about his list of accolades is long. I mean, he's a 9-time NBA All-Star. He has won the All-Star MVP before. He's been Rookie of the Year. I'm talking about this guy is going to the Hall of Fame, so he's good, right? And what advice is he giving his 12-year-old self? To be a better listener. And in our minds, this guy has made it. He has, made it to places that some of us, his bank account say some stuff that some of ours are never going to see. But even with all that he has accomplished, one thing that he's saying is that he could have been a better listener. Now that's good. That's really good, and it really opens up our minds to know that, hey, if he has accomplished all this, no matter how great we are in our craft, that means that we all can listen more. And so before we go any further, I want you to say, we all can listen more in the comment section. That lets me know, one, that you're listening, and two, we speaking it to one another. We all can listen more. And so what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and finish off his message.
Even now, I'm 34 years old, and I'm sure in a couple years I'll look back and think I knew more than I actually knew. So you constantly, in life, you're always evolving, you're always learning. And if you don't listen, it just makes that harder. And as a 12-year-old, I thought I listened, but if I would have listened more and listened better, I feel like I wouldn't have had to go through some of the things that I did go through. And that process is just better, not just in sports, but in life, if you just keep your ears open and listen. So that would be the number one thing I would tell myself.
the number one thing he would tell himself is to be a better listener. Listen, this that's something deep right there. And so the last part that jumped out to me right there was not just in sports, but he said in life, in everything, I would just be a better listener. He said some things that I just wouldn't have went through. Some things would have been a lot better if I would have just been able to listen. Listen, that was a good start to this bold message on Christ. And he gave us the natural. And now I'm even going to go even further and get to the spiritual. I'm going to get to the Bible for real, and share this story with you about the same thing, right? Talking about the importance of listening and the importance of being able to hear and not always have something to say or something to do. And so we're going to go to Luke chapter 10, and we're going to start with verse 38. And just a little backstory, because that's all it takes as I'm pulling this up in the Bible. I like the NLT, and so that's where I'm going to come from. But it's just two sisters, Martha and Mary, and they are friends of Jesus. And that's pretty much the backstory. We're going to dive right in, starting at verse 38. As Jesus and the disciples continued on their way to Jerusalem, they came to a certain village where a woman named Martha welcomed him into her home. Her sister Mary sat at the Lord's feet, listening to what he taught. But Martha was distracted by the big dinner she was preparing. She came to Jesus and said, "Lord, doesn't it seem unfair to you that my sister just sits here while I do all the work?" Been there before. "Tell her to come and help me." But the Lord said to her, "My dear Martha, you are worried and upset over all these details. There is only one thing worth being concerned about. Mary has discovered it, and it will not be taken away from her." And I went all the way to the end, which is verse 42. Listen, I understand. Martha, probably the bigger sister here, right? She's working, she's busy, she have Jesus and everybody else, in her house, which she loves and welcomes. We all know people like that love to entertain or, love to work and do the works of the ministry at work, at school, whatever it is. We all have been in Martha's shoes before where we feel like, I'm doing all the work. And so what's funny to me is Martha being the big sister. Look, I'm going to tell, because listen here, Mary is sitting here listening, sitting down. And if you really want to get deep and dive into like the customs and all the things and what Mary should have been doing, right, was in there helping Martha. But that's, at this point, Jesus was breaking all the barriers, right? And so here he's allowing Mary to sit at his feet and listen to his teaching. Again, an important piece is that listening part, right? And so as Martha goes and she tries to get Jesus on her side, and she tells her side, and Jesus tells her straight up, "Listen, I know that you're dealing with works and you're busy, right? But he said, I'm not going to get on your side. What you're doing, I'm not going to say it's not important, but what Mary's doing, it could never be taken away from her." See, the knowledge and the wisdom that as she was sitting at his feet listening, it don't get no better than that, right? And so although I know in life, we can't always be Mary, right? Just always in the presence of the Lord, always just sitting at God's feet, always in prayer, always in his word. We can't always be there, right? But what we do want to do, make sure that we do, is that we don't put busyness over God. Now, I understand sometimes we got to get things done. Like people at your house, you got to cook, you got to clean, you got to serve. Serving is good, but it's not the most important thing that's going on in your life. And so when they say, hey, where are you at right now in this season? Are you Martha right now? Are you in a busy season, an anxious season, a season where it's serving? That's okay. But don't neglect the Mary time. Are you in the Mary season where, hey, I'm collecting and gaining all the knowledge and information I can, right, at this moment? And sometimes it's a balancing act, right? That's where it gets tricky, because I got to do both of these things, right? And that's important. We must balance the two of them. You must do some service. You must do some works, but you got to have time for Christ. That means I got to be listening to what he's telling me to do. What's next in my season? How do I listen to him? I got to spend time with him. I got to go. That's prayer. That's reading his word. What are you showing me during this time and during this season? Listen, the thing about us is we like to do all the talking. That's why and in James, as I was talking about Damian Lilliard, it says quick to listen and slow to speak. Sometimes we just need to be quiet. Sometimes we just got to be quiet and just listen. Open up our ears so we can hear. See, so we got to know that serving is good, but being with Jesus is better. All right? And so hopefully something that was shared with you on today, it makes me understand and know that listening is a very important piece to God. Because, hey, Mary and Martha was working, but Mary was sitting listening. Martha was, in the kitchen and getting stuff together. And Jesus told her what Mary is doing is key. Like, I know you're doing all this stuff and you anxious about it, but sitting at his feet. And see, you don't know, this was what Jesus' last go round. When you really start studying scripture, the best place we could have been was at his feet, listening to his teaching, listening to his word, diving into that. Because see, that knowledge and wisdom, just like Damian said, it will make you better. Like, if he could tell himself that, like, he knows that although I'm great, listening makes you better. It's things that you won't do if you are listening. And so, man, I'm telling you, that message, that bold message on listening and being a better listener is great. I want you to share it with somebody. Share it with somebody that you love. Listen, I love each and every one of you. And all of us need to take this piece, hey, and be better listeners. All right? You guys be blessed. I love you all.